Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 284. Your weekly little get together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is.
I'm David.
Tonight, David. The WB is getting its own weird Smash Brothers knockoff, allegedly, anyways, if the rumors to be believed. Halo Infinite shows off more of its campaign, and BlizzCOnline, that stupid ass name for the convention that is now fully digital, it seems, has been canceled for next year, and I'm sure we probably can all guess why. But first, I want everyone here to know that this is not an Instant Interactive podcast. So if you're watching here at Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at twitch.tv/GamePoints, feel free to join in the conversation. If you can't, however, watch us live, feel free to do so over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, and feel free to chime in over there with any questions, comments, concerns that you might have, etc. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. David.
Yes.
Now, I know that you have had a rather busy few days, but have you had any chance to be able to play anything new? And also, how's your New World experience going? Because I've heard some shit about that game recently that I want to kind of rack your brain over.
I don't think I've actually played that game since the last time we talked about it.
Oh, well, okay.
All that shit. So you know how if you look at the concurrent Steam players, it's fallen completely through the floor? Yeah, you can fully count me as one of those.
Okay.
Because the game's buggy. Wars seem like a cool idea, but it's hard to get into them unless you're in one of the major companies. So it kind of encourages everybody to join like the same fucking three companies, which isn't actually interesting. Currency is actively deflating.
Yeah, the economy is in shambles in a way I've never seen happen in an MMO before.
Because it was done very fucking poorly. Like, there's no way to make money in that game because the marketplace is, you can't sell anything.
Gold is worth more than any other item in the game.
Yeah. So people are just bartering now.
Also, one other thing I'm hearing, and I was hoping to kind of see or to attest to it, because I'm like level 30ish. I'm not end game at this point. But once you have hit 60, there are apparently some skills that are just completely useless. Like, they don't work at all. Like,
well,
when it
also
says
the big level 60 like PvP events that are supposed to be available just aren't. They're still disabled.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
If you hit level 60, there's really not a lot to do besides make gank squads and try and kill people, but then nobody flags for PvP anymore because if you go outside and you're not level 60, you just get murdered by a group of level 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But furthermore, I've heard...
Go
ahead.
Then there's the invulnerability bug, which makes
Haven't
wars
heard of
and
that.
invasions completely pointless. Yeah, and it's very easy to do invulnerability bug. Like, you need a level 1 hatchet skill and the ability to alt-tab.
Okay.
Like, it is not complicated to replicate.
As people have been like doing what hardcore MMO people do in theory craft and shit, they have realized that just some skills do not give you what was promised. Like, say there's something that's like 23% damage increase, it increases nothing. So there are some skills that are completely useless, other ones that are completely broken. Like, there's a resilient stat that will say reduce damage by 8%, but what it doesn't actually tell you is that it reduces all damage, period, and a story by 8%, as opposed to specific kinds of damage. So if you stack up like up to 50 on that, literally everything in the game only takes off half of its damage, regardless of the source, including PvP.
Perfect.
So there's all this weird unbalanced shit that is starting to fire off across this game that is turning it very quickly into a broken mess. And that's a shame because it started off so great. That's a little bit more of a tangent on that I wanted to get into. I'm just kind of surprised that New World seemed to start off so well until people started hitting the end, and then they started going, all right, now that we're here, let's crack into this.
It was fun until people really got into, okay, what do we do besides, do basic quests and kill some monsters? As soon as you try to get into the actual MMO of it all, it doesn't really work anymore.
That's unfortunate. It is free. It is... Let me rephrase. It doesn't have a subscription, so I will revisit that.
It is absolutely not a free game.
Sooner or later.
And, it's fine. I got a bunch of hours in it.
All right.
Maybe I'll try it eventually. But there's also the thing that I don't really play MMOs, and we talk about how I normally get either a certain hour or I make it to about level 30 in any MMO, and then I stop playing. I'll give you one guess what level my character is.
Is it around 30 or so?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems about right. So
'Cause that's usually in those games where they're like, okay, cool, you did this thing and you did this other thing and you've experienced everything this game has to offer. Now do all of that again.
right, it does start getting repetitive after a while. New world aside, have you had a chance to actually crack into anything new, or are you still kind of keeping to your old staples?
I've been playing through Echo Generations.
Oh, that's that. We talked about last week.
90s Stranger Things-y RPG.
How's that working out for you?
I like it.
All right, fair enough. I've been playing
It's very like fetch questy. Like,
Okay.
hey, I'll give you this thing if you get me this thing. You're like, fuck, well, where'd I get that? Oh, you go talk to this guy. Oh, this guy has that thing, but he wants me to get this other thing. It's very much like that.
Right,
But it's
the string fetch quest.
Yeah, but it's still kind of got a neat narrative. Like you're in a small town and like a spaceship crashes and there's just, a mystery and the music's good and, it's fun.
Nice. I've been playing Age of Darkness Final Stand. What that is, to kind of give you the boilerplate pitch, it came out in early access a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago at this point. It is essentially a fantasy version of They Are Billions, but feels already more refined in its current state than They Are Billions does now.
Damn.
So if you like that, build up your base, get your defenses ready. Every couple days, a swarm kind of hits you style of gameplay. You're starting to see a couple more of these games popping up like that. I would recommend taking a look at Age of Darkness. But yeah, beyond that, not too much else, despite the fact that there's a whole plethora of choices that we can definitely get into. But let's move on from those and go right into the news. Dealing with this first thing, this isn't really a huge story because it's still technically rumor, although it does come with Jeff Grubb, and Jeff Grubb is along the lines of Jason Schreier. Usually when they say shit is happening, shit is going to happen. Mm-hmm. They tend to be that same caliber. This is via VentureBeat. MultiVersus is a Warner Brothers riff on Smash Brothers. Like Smash Brothers before, MultiVersus is a platform fighter, and that is going to feature characters like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, Tom and Jerry, Batman, and more. Grubb confirmed that this game is real, and those details are accurate as of today. This has been a rumor that's been kicking around for about 3 or 4 days now. A lot of people thought NetherRealm was working on this, but that has now Grubb essentially came out and said, "No way, it's not NetherRealm that's doing it. This is some other team that's doing it." The hot rumor on
it's WB, right? And they own NetherRealm, so
the hot rumor is that NetherRealm will be introducing Injustice 3 at the Game Awards. That's apparently what NetherRealm is working on, from what I hear.
Cool.
Whether or not that's true or not, we'll see as we get closer. WB Interactive has tested the MultiVersus with some fans. Early word is that the game feels like it's on a tight budget, although Nickelodeon All-Star Bros. Has proved that isn't necessarily an issue for this genre. WB also potentially is considering making the game free to play. David?
Yes.
If you notice, I didn't really do much setup as to what the game itself is, because I don't care the fact that Warner Brothers is making a Smash knockoff. Everyone feels like they have to do it eventually. This article mentions Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl. Sony did it with PlayStation All-Stars. The idea of this genre, or this metaverse character fighter is not new.
Hell no. Remember Marvel versus Street Fighter?
Yeah. As a whole, though, I am fucking tired of the metaverse crossover thing. I'm over it. Avengers Endgame came out. It was awesome. We had people from all kinds of different franchises. Admittedly, they're all from Marvel. They're all comic book heroes. But since that came out, it feels like there's been this resurgence of people feeling like they have to cram in every single property into one thing. That's kind of what Ready Player One did, both the book and the movie. That's what fucking Space Jam did, where the Looney Tunes were fighting on the side of the rapist from A Clockwork Orange.
You're really missing the key player in your argument.
Okay.
One of the biggest fucking games in the world.
Okay.
Fortnite.
I mean, that's what I was building up to.
Yeah, Fortnite just has everything from everywhere.
That is what I was building up to.
And they make all of the money. So if you follow the money, getting characters from franchises that you already have access to is a way to get some of that money. So of course everyone's going to do it. They don't care that you're tired of it, Steven. That literally does not matter.
I don't think I'm the only one. I think, as always, I am ahead of the curve. This is really starting to wear out its fucking welcome. It was cool at first because it was supposed to be like the big event, right? Like, but let's go back to the comics industry back in the 90s when they would have the big crossover event. The reason why those were so special is because they only happened once every 5 to 10 years. Now it's every fucking month. Here is a game with, you like your childhood favorites? Well, here they all are in one fucking game. It's like, guys, enough. I get everything is owned by Disney now. I don't fucking need everything shoved into one movie that somehow establishes a giant metaverse of everything. I am so tired of this crossover genre bullshit. I don't even want to say genre because it's not right. I don't mean genre. Just crossover massive entertainment. We own all this forgotten IP. Let's cram them all into one movie and see what people really liked and then make the spin-off movies of there. I'm just over it.
For a guy named Capitalist Pig, you sure seem to be complaining about it working as intended.
Give me something new, for fuck's sake.
That's not how it works, Steven.
That is how it works.
They're going to wring dry the money pit until it stops producing money. And then one person will try something new, and it will be a good idea. Then someone with more money than that person will execute it better and make all of the money. Then everyone else will pile on. That's how this works. It's how it's always fucking worked.
It's never worked to this excess before. There is a dearth of new. No, I don't have the time to go through the fact that over the past few years that creativity has dried up and we've been cranking out the same thing over and over again. Now I know the big mainstays are going to go to, and I get that's always kind of been a veneer over cinema and film and entertainment and games and all that, but especially over the past 5 years. And I fully understand this is an old man yells at cloud moment. I get that. But there just comes a point where it's excessive to the point of nausea, and that we have hit that about 3 years ago, specifically with this whole idea of just everything has to have everyone in it. And once again, I have to point out the Space Jam that the rapists from the Clockwork Orange were cheering in the background for Bugs Bunny. At some point, you just have to say shit is ridiculous. And I keep going back to that and not Fortnite because that's also a WB joint. But God damn it, David. I am so tired of the multi-universe crossover shit. That aside,
this is so funny to me.
And I know that this has nothing to actually do with the game, and I'm just using this as a branching point, but I'm seeing it everywhere and it's pissing me off. So now that I have gotten that out of the way, what do you feel about this supposed code name MultiVersus? MultiVersus is just kind of what it's being tossed around as. Like it's like development name. It could have come out as something else, probably like WB Superhero Brawl Spectacular or some shit like that. But what do you think about something like this? Would you be excited to see Shaggy beat the shit out of Scorpion?
I had Mugen installed on my computer like 15 years ago. I've already seen Shaggy beat the shit out of Scorpion.
Now, if they do drop Omega Tom Hanks, we might actually have something here. Because I want to see him throw copies of Forrest Gump in Philadelphia.
There's been fighting game engines available online for literal decades now where people just upload characters and you can fight as literally every single fighter from the history of fighting games, in addition to, I don't know, any other fictional character you can think of, because someone's probably put a move list together, or they were in some obscure fighting game at some point in the last 40 years. People like this shit.
You know, I just find that less offensive, and I'll tell you why. Because I just haven't been exposed. That's part of it, but I also haven't been that exposed to it.
Yeah, that's right.
And as we have established, this show exists not really to give you all news at home, but just so I can bitch about what bothers me that week.
Oh, man. Okay, so here's the way this works, Steven. As a concept, I'm fine with the fighter crossover thing. That's cool. But if the game is not fun, I don't give a shit about it.
Ultimately, gameplay is king.
Yeah, that's literally all that matters to me. If it turns out Shaggy beating up Tom and Jerry is the funnest of shits that you can have, then yeah, I'll play it. Why not?
Now, let's actually come back to the game itself now that you're bringing that up. Rant aside, if this actually is enjoyable to play, I'm not going to be too worried about the skin that's on top of it. But someone has to draw the line in the sand when it comes to this shit, and that is going to be me one way or another.
I wish you the best of luck. Luckily, there's only so many more companies that own everything left to do this kind of thing.
I don't know if Goku will be there, Wilson's Corner. I think Goku is...
I don't think WB has an ownership stake in it, do they?
Not positive. At this
I
point,
don't know
I
if
wouldn't
they
be surprised.
published that crappy movie. But
Oh,
I don't
fuck,
know.
I gotta know now.
But I don't know if they have any... But the idea of these kind of fighters, right, is that you start reaching out to other companies and try and get licenses for the people you don't own, because that's how Smash Brothers work. Smash Brothers is currently the best fighting game roster-wise, because you can actually play as, like, characters from Tekken and King of Fighters and Street Fighter and all together.
Dragon
they
Ball...
don't have a regular fighting game that does that.
Dragon Ball Evolution is a Fox production, which means it is owned by Disney.
All right. But they might not actually own... They might have leased it or something.
No, but Disney, like you would figure that they would have first crack at that if it came to it, because they already have the establishment relationship, the established relationship.
Yeah, we'll see.
David, let's move from this. Unless you have any other final words you want to mention about this rumored MultiVersus, whatever it's going to be.
I just like how it's a rumor, and man, are you heated about it? It's probably going to happen, and if they don't do it, somebody else will.
Jeff Grubb is confirming it. Jeff Grubb is a Jason Schreier in this industry. What he says tends to be legit. He wouldn't be going with it if he didn't have it confirmed by multiple sources, etc., like that. And it's not even the existence of the game. It's just the premise of the game that bothers me.
It's just, that's funny to me.
I
hope they keep making them.
It is what it is. Let's go from this to Halo. Now, have you seen that Halo trailer there that dropped recently about the new campaign? I don't want to say the new campaign, but they actually exposed more of the campaign. Did you watch that video there, David?
Yeah, of course I did.
What were your thoughts on it?
This looks like Halo.
Care to elaborate, my friend?
That game looks no better and no worse than Destiny does. And I mean that aesthetically and graphically. Because I know there's people that are still mad at the graphics.
It's such a bitch and a half to get you to talk about shit you don't care about.
Okay, so I don't care about the Halo campaign, so the Halo campaign doesn't move me in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to play that game because it's going to have multiplayer, and I'm going to shoot people in the face, and if it's fun, I'll keep doing that. If it's not fun, I'll stop. That's how I'm going to interact with the new Halo. All that being said, I feel like the graphics still look... not like a system seller. It still looks like a basic Xbox game.
That's one thing I wanted to touch on, is that it is
an Xbox One game. It does not look like a Series X game.
There is
even with
nothing
higher frame rate and some extra textures, I don't think it's going to look that much better than this trailer, because I'm assuming, because it's a video game trailer, that they used the best hardware they had available in order to put this trailer together. So I don't think this game looks that good.
There is nothing on here that screams current generation to me. I don't see why this couldn't have been on previous generation consoles in its 100% entirety.
I also have some, issues like Halo's kind of a more linear-based first-person shooter, story-driven narrative game, which is cool. I like that. I can enjoy those kinds of games. This looks more open-worldy. So that immediately makes me not interested.
It is definitely
I'm not going to play a
going
giant open-world Halo FPS.
It's definitely going more open world with it. They have the slight RPG-ish elements now. We saw that skill tree during the trailer. There seems to be outposts. Where have I seen this before? This sounds like a goddamn Ubisoft game.
Right.
Where they kind of just throw every genre into a blender and then pour it out. And I don't want that. However,
if it's like a 10 to 20 hour single player, or I guess also co-op story-driven campaign, it's like narrative heavy and interesting, then I would probably play it at some point. But if this is some 40 to 60 hour slog of an open world first person shooter, I'm not getting anywhere near it. That is the opposite of fun for me.
Normally, I would agree with you. But there is something about this open world idea that I actually think works for Halo. And that stretches back to let me take you back to a time before the first Halo even released. Bungie, before they were bought with Microsoft, and I believe I'm looking for the haze of 20 years here, so forgive me, but I believe when Halo was first being developed, before Microsoft bought them to turn it into a console game for their upcoming Xbox, Halo was pitched as an open world 4-player co-op video game where you were just running around on a map. Think like Operation Arma Operation Flashpoint or Arma, one of those open world military shooter style games. And it was pitched to be kind of what Halo Infinite looks like it is now. So there's something in me that looks at this trailer for Halo Infinite, and despite the fact that it doesn't really look all that next gen, because I've been spoiled by the Battlefields and the Call of Duties and your big spectacle first-person shooters, it doesn't look that flashy, comparatively speaking, to some of that other stuff. But something about it feels like it can work within an open world environment. And I think specifically of Halo 1. That game so wanted to be open world, but it wasn't. You can kind of still see a little bit of it in the design when they gave you things like some vehicles to traverse and some of the sizes of those levels. You can almost see the proto open worldness of it that kind of got scrapped and ported into a console version of it, which had to keep it linear because, well, we're still talking consoles here. No matter how powerful a console is, it's not going to do what a PC can do. I tend to shy away from the Ubisoftization of things, but I know I've said a couple times, something about Halo I think it can really work with, and it makes me excited for a Halo campaign again, which I haven't felt excitement for a Halo campaign since the third one.
I mean, cool, go you, man. I hope you enjoy it.
I know this is
if it's an open world game,
you're done.
I will just not play it. Or if I do play it, I'll play it for 6 to 10 hours or whatever I think it should have been, and then I'll never play it again.
No. Wilson's Corner says, was this before or after they wanted to make an RTS? This was after. So Halo, I think when it first started, was once again, 20 years haze, so forgive me. I believe that Halo was originally supposed to be a science fiction version of Myth, which was an RTS that Bungie did. It was a fantasy RTS. Then they took that concept. I don't even think it was called Halo at the time. And then they took that concept and came up with the 4-player co-op open world idea. And once again, I need to stress 20 years haze, and I'm just recalling this off the top of my head, so I could be wrong. Stuffy Twitchy says, the original Halo was also planned to be released on Mac because Marathon was a Mac game. Very true. It was meant to be a Mac. But then Microsoft bought them and Steve Jobs went ballistic. I don't remember where Steve Jobs was going nuts, but I do know the Mac community was pissed because they didn't have many games to call exclusive their own to begin with. Mm-hmm. And Bungie made Mac games. That is what they made.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. Keep in mind that while the game itself is releasing on December 8th for the campaign multiplayer, if you want the Forge and campaign co-op, that stuff is still an indeterminate date sometime in 2020, which is a red... 2022. Sorry. That is a bit of a red flag to me because I think that shows that they are rushing this out solely so they can actually have something this holiday season to pin on the Xbox mantle. Mm-hmm. I get real nervous when I see stuff like this, especially given how Halo has, let's be honest here, the Halo as a franchise has had a very rough few years, and it is no longer seen with the same wonder that it used to be. Halo 4 and 5 have kind of damaged that game when it comes to the narrative. Master Chief Collection really damaged that game.
I think I said this before and got yelled at about it, but it's still true, despite what anybody else thinks. Halo as a series, if you take it up, is an average video game franchise. Like, it's not bad, it's not especially great. If you take all of the games as a whole and average them out, they come out right in the middle.
You're making the Star Wars argument, how some people say Star Wars is now a bad franchise because they've only had 3 good movies out of 11.
Yeah, I'm using that exact same line of reasoning.
I get it. Like, when you say average, you don't mean it's average. You mean when you average up the scores of all the games in your personal scoring system, it comes out to be
It is
average.
a middling franchise. It's not my favorite franchise. It's not a franchise I hate either. I mean, I'll still play a Halo game, but I'm not lining up outside of. People still line up outside GameStops. I'm not lining up outside to buy a new Halo game.
I don't know. But I will say that the Microsoft licenses in general have taken a kind of hard hitting over the past few years, specifically Halo
like
and
a million
Gears of War.
studios.
I think that's one of the reasons why. It's because they need some fresh blood in there, because their two mainstays, Halo and Gears of War, they're just not the behemoths they used to be. That is not to say that it won't sell like gangbusters. You put out Halo Infinite comes out, that fucking thing is going to... I mean, I know that the multiplayer is free to play, but that thing is going to make money, in a lot of it.
I think they... I don't know. I don't know that the single-player campaign of Halo is going to sell as well as you think it will, but I'm not saying that won't make money. Because of the fact that the multiplayer is going to be free to play, I guarantee it's going to have some freemium shit in there, because they have to make money somehow, and that's how they're going to try and do it. But I don't think the campaign... Because on December 8th, you can go buy the Halo campaign, no co-op, no Forge, by itself for $60, $70. Or you could just play the multiplayer.
I'd imagine 60. I can't see them going any higher than that. I know that 70 is the new game, the next gen or the current gen price now.
It's the Jim Ryan price.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the Phil Spencer price.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely see come December 8th. One final thing I want to bring up here. Neither one of us, those watching at home or live on Twitch, neither one of us are big Halo people. And I barely do multiplayer shooters to begin with. You said you're interested in the multiplayer shooter because it's going to be free to play, etc. like that.
That's also the part I play of the Halo games. I don't think I've actually beaten a campaign since like the second one.
Right. But I want to know what you all at home think about this free to play aspect of it, because they are going to monetize the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. The question is, will it be like Destiny with its Eververse shop and its battle passes that unlock various skins?
I fully imagine that they're going to go the season pass route, because that is rapidly replacing the loot box, because it doesn't have any legal nonsense. You pay a set amount of money, you get access to all of these items, you see what they are up front, you pay with your time and your money to unlock them. And
I'm actually fine with the battle pass idea. I think that's a decent compromise to a degree. I haven't seen anything too egregious from it. Admittedly, my first-hand experience with it is limited, because I just don't play games that accommodate the battle pass all that well beyond Destiny. But once again, to use Destiny as an example, I know exactly what I'm getting during that time. I don't have to buy it day one. I can keep playing it casually until I get to a certain level, and they go, okay, this is what I want now.
You can also skip one if it doesn't have any items you want. There's all that stuff.
So I do find that a little bit less of a problem. I'm just curious to know how they're going to monetize this, if it's just straight battle pass or what. That will be something I'm sure gets answered later. Let's go take a look at chat here. Nolan Richardson says, Halo is nice. Yeah, Halo... You know what? Nice is actually a good way of saying it. It's nice. It is fine. But it's not what it used to be, for certain. Stuff in Twitch, he says, lots of first-person choice mixes, lots of FPS choice next month. Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, MOH? Is there a new Medal of Honor that I know of coming out? Well, Apex Legends,
new Battlefield.
etc. New Battlefield for certain. It'll be hard to get players interested in it, in my opinion. I don't know if that's free.
People will play free games.
I don't know if that's true, because Halo still has the mystery of the Halo name. I know I said it's not as polished as it once was. It's no longer the pantheon of first-person shooters, but it still has a certain panache that will draw eyes to it. I don't see it not. It's not going to...
The fact that the multiplayer will be free means that people that wouldn't even normally think about playing a Halo game will be like, well, I can just download it and play it, and if I don't like it, I can delete it, so...
I don't think it'll do better than Call of Duty, but I think it will do better than Battlefield. That's my call on it. Wilson Corner says, they already said that there will be battle passes. The gimmick is that you keep your battle passes you bought. so you can keep doing missions on them months after their seasons pass. That's cool. There's no built-in, if I'm reading that right, there's no built-in timer that you have to hit level 100 in the battle pass within 3 months or something like that.
That's neat.
I like that. That's cool. If anything, that's actually a better way to do it, so you don't feel compelled to keep spending hours on it.
Yeah.
Although, admittedly,
a little less reliance on the FOMO of it all. You can kind of get to stuff at your leisure.
Which is exactly why they have the timers built in, is because they want the FOMO on it. So I'm kind of glad to see Microsoft stepping up. If that is the case, I will believe it when I see it. Not doubting what you're saying, Wilson, just doubting that the word of any company to hold true to that until it actually comes out. David.
Yes. You want to talk about this other thing? We can talk about a new thing.
Let's talk about BlizzCon.
All right. I bet that we don't actually talk about BlizzCon later this year because it has been canceled.
Well,
in a post from the Blizzard news site, we decided to take a step back and pause on planning the previously announced BlizzCon online event scheduled for early next year. This was a tough decision for all of us to make, but it's the right one. Any BlizzCon event takes every single one of us to make happen, an entire company effort, fueled by our desire to share what we create with the community we care about so much. At this time, we feel the energy it would take to put on a show like this is best directed towards supporting our teams and progressing development of our games and our experiences.
David, translation. They have nothing to show beyond the basic developer updates.
And what all they're going to get from this is internet flame.
And what light of what's been going on, in addition to, on top of that, they're just going to get bad press nonstop.
Yeah.
That's why this is happening, the long and the short.
I don't think anybody was like holding their breath for the next BlizzCon.
Yeah, event. I don't think so either.
I don't think anyone is super... Well, maybe that's a false statement. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are excited for Overwatch 2, but unless it was coming out during the event, I don't think it's going to do much for people.
To me, that means you're not going to get any Blizzard releases until minimum October of next year. Because if they had something...
How is Diablo Immortal not done yet? Didn't they announce that like years ago?
I just don't pay attention to Diablo Immortal, so I couldn't tell you. I think it's been an open beta for a while, but I'm not positive on that. So I'm that disconnected from Diablo Immortal.
Gotcha.
But if they had anything major to announce, any new major beyond your basic development update stuff, they would be rolling that out at a BlizzCon because Blizzard specifically, because Activision has been doing their damnedest to separate themselves from the Blizzard name. Blizzard needs a win. Something big enough to distract people from the shit that's been going on there the past few months to a year plus at this point. And the fact that they don't have that ready to go means that development on everything has ground to a fucking halt, which matches up with the stories we were reading earlier about how just no one is working on shit because morale is so low.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I have floated this idea around here, and seeing stuff like this just helps reinforce it. I don't think Blizzard exists as like a name on some of this stuff in another year to year and a half. I think Activision is going to do its best to slowly bury the Blizzard name.
So I had agreed with you on that, but I'm starting to think about it, and I think even with all of this, the name itself is still worth so much. Like, it's tarnished, but I feel like they're going to just work on pivoting it and just making Blizzard like a new type of company or a new, I don't know. I feel like they're still going to have like Blizzard Presents, but they won't be their own thing anymore. It is just going to be an Activision studio.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. They're not going to drop the Blizzard name completely, but they will say, here's the new game from Activision. As opposed to here's the new game
being put together
Blizzard.
by the Blizzard studio in wherever.
Yeah, they're going to really prioritize Blizzard being a name on it. I am 100% convinced that's going to happen, and you're going to start seeing it slow. They'll do it slowly because they don't want to be obvious about it, because if they're obvious about it, it defeats the point of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the first step on it. What will happen is that eventually BlizzCon won't be BlizzCon anymore. It'll be Acticon or something like that, where they not only show Blizzard games, but they show the next Call of Duty, and they show everything else. And they've been doing that from a corporate side for a little while before all this happened, when Battle.net started actually having your Call of Duty stuff pop up on there.
Yep.
But now they're really, really going to double down on it to just kind of completely eliminate Blizzard as an own independent entity, because people still don't associate Activision with Blizzard. They still see them as two separate companies, despite the fact that more and more people are starting to see Activision
and the whole thing is called
Blizzard.
Activision Blizzard.
I know that, you know that, the people watching know that. People who buy games overwhelmingly don't know that.
Fair.
You're going to see this transition pick up steam, and I doubt you'll ever see another BlizzCon again. I think what will happen is that when this comes back, it'll be like an Activision con. The name Blizzard is so toxic now and so loathed at this point. And that is just fucked on so many levels. But I could be wrong. What do I know? Let us know what you think down below.
Yeah, is anyone gonna miss BlizzCon this year? Was anyone like really looking forward to it?
There was a time where I wanted to go to BlizzCon, because every year it was like a big celebration. They would always have a decent band playing. They would have all kinds of shit they would announce. There would be something new every year. The past few years, all this horrible stuff aside, though, the past few years has been Blizzard going, we're still working on those games. They're coming.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some new skins for Heroes of the Storm, which we don't do anything for anymore. Diablo 4 is being made. You have phones now, so you can play Diablo Immortal. It's been very lackluster the few years, but there was a time where BlizzCon was a powerhouse of conventions and actually meant something when it came to announcements. That's just not the case anymore.
There you go.
Next story, David. Do you want this? Because you would just love to kick this horse, but I can take it if you want it.
Yeah, no, I'll take this one. You take the next one because you're more familiar. In a story from Forbes, CD Projekt Red delays the current gen, PS5, Xbox Series X and S Cyberpunk 2077 update to 2022. Surprising absolutely no one, CD Projekt Red has missed their targeted date for the next-gen release of Cyberpunk 2077, meaning it will not be out until a year after the game's debut in December 2020. If you remember earlier in the year, they had that little roadmap that said that this was supposed to be coming out sometime like in the holiday window of this year. That's just, nope, they're kicking it to next year, and it's not even dated. It's just next year. They'll get to it when they get to it. Announced first to investors, of course, and next to the general public, CD Projekt Red has said their new targeted window for Cyberpunk 2077 on PS5 and Series X/S will be Q1 of 2022. A similar update for The Witcher 3 will be Q2 2022. So don't hold your breath that much longer, but is anyone really crazy excited for the next-gen update? Because they still haven't, fixed Cyberpunk. The Witcher 3 next-gen update will be pretty cool because that game's actually done and works. But
they can update Cyberpunk all they want when it comes to fixing graphics and improving AI and everything like that.
It's like missing features.
But that game will never be what they promised because, like you said, it's missing features.
Well,
so unless they're rewriting the game
they're not
itself,
addressing those things, right? Because No Man's Sky was missing features, and they've slowly added features to that game. But I don't know that that's something that they can do with Cyberpunk.
I don't think it is.
I don't know that the engine's going to support some of the things that they'd wanted to do in the first place. And I think part of the issue was that they realized that during development and canned a lot of things. And I don't think it's something they can just go back and patch in quickly.
There is always hope that they'd pull a No Man's Sky or a Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn and are able to release the upgraded version of Cyberpunk 2077 in the ultimate meta Cyberpunk that you could possibly think of, that the game itself has gotten enhancements that actually changed the nature of it. But at its core, if that game ran flawlessly, looked gorgeous, had perfect AI, it would still not be what was promised.
I can't even paint my car. I'm supposed to be able to customize my car. Anyway, CD Projekt Red said back in June that updates about next-gen versions of the games would be coming, quote-unquote, soon. The only updates we have ever seen are those two different roadmaps. The next-gen versions were promised to be out in the second half of 2021. Then, CD Projekt Red more recently said they were still targeting this year, but that sent a clear signal a delay was likely coming, and now it has. So, there you go.
I don't want to hammer their lack of communication on this, however, David. because what I'm seeing here is kind of what I was wanting them to do. Because what I remember saying, I want them to do a No Man's Hello Games.
Well, the problem is they just went radio silent for a really long time.
Yeah.
Whereas Hello Games was like, we fucked up. We're working on it. Here's an incremental update. Here's a big update. Here's a big update. And like they've just been churning. But if you look at like the dev posts of that game while it was being worked on post release, you can really follow what they're working on.
Okay.
These guys, we had a couple roadmaps, we've had a couple blog posts, and so I'm kind of gonna disagree with you on the whole transparency thing because they had a very long, just complete radio silence.
You've absolutely convinced me. That didn't take that long to poke the hole right in where I was going with that. You're right. You're absolutely right on that. I do want CD Projekt Red to kind of shut up about the game, other than going, "Hey, this is what we're working on. We're not going to tell you what we're working on, but we're working on it. You'll see it when it's."
I'd prefer the opposite because they
100%
piss people off so much.
Weekly updates or something,
or monthly even. That's more than we're getting now. Just anything really, just to show that. And I get that we're working on it. We'll get back to you later. Is a way to do this, but when you've built up this much bad faith in a product, you should really be a bit more forward in communicating on what the team's working on and what you're trying to do and targets and all this other stuff, because I feel like that helps repair some of that goodwill with the fans.
Okay.
But what the fuck do I know? I'm just a guy that talks.
No. I agree. I get where you're coming from. I actually even agree with you in that case. This is just one of the...
I get the, shut up and work on it thing, but, they've been shutting up and working on it for a while.
I guess my contention is I don't see anything that CD Projekt Red can do that isn't going to cause a massive amount of bitching one way or another.
It's true.
And I think I'm trying to tackle this in the way that would cause the least amount of bitching, but no. And
the least amount of grief for them.
But you know what, though? They have earned every bit of it.
Yeah, dude.
They have absolutely earned the ire of people everywhere, because at the end of the day, they lied on it. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Being said, yes, they lied. Their marketing team overhyped it, but don't send people fucking death threats.
Yeah,
don't be a piece of shit on the internet.
You can be pissed. You don't have to be.
You can be pissed. You can be mad. You can complain about it.
You can even say that they're all fuck faces and things like that, but don't.
Yeah.
There's no need to go after specific people and just hammer them with death threats or "I know where you live" or "fuck you."
We don't need that.
What you do is you create a podcast no one watches and then bitch about it to people online.
Hell yeah.
That's how you handle your problems.
Yep.
Moving on to the next topic here, David. This is via IGN. I'm kind of excited about this.
Spoiler alert.
Not necessarily, and I'll get into it as we go on. Dark Pictures Season 1 finale with Devil in Me announced. A video that plays at the end of the recently launched Dark Pictures House of Ashes revealed The Devil in Me, the Season 1 finale of Supermassive Games' Dark Pictures anthology. This reveals not only the next game in the anthology will be, but the series will be split into 2 seasons. David, this is something that Dark Pictures has been doing for a while now. When you beat the first game, they show a quick trailer for the next. Supermassive has signed that deal with Bandai Namco for 8 of these Dark Pictures games that are supposed to be 8 of them. Smaller in scale, cheaper price, kind of has that direct-to-video horror vibe to it, and I really enjoy them for the most part, to varying degrees. Some I like better than others. The trailer, which can be seen in a tweet from the Hunters above, which the person who posted it up on the internet first, reveals a grotesque tease of the Devil in Me, which appears to involve a killer creating a mechanized automaton from human body parts. This suggests that the next game of the Dark Pictures anthology may be less supernatural than its 3 predecessors, which have all featured ghost, monster types, foes, and themes. What we may be facing in the next game is something more in the realm of Saw, with the focus on a twisted human killer.
Wait, you're telling me a cybernetic human body part created automaton is not supernatural?
If you watch the trailer, it's like a corpse that's just been outfitted with a bunch of like pneumatic presses. So it looks like he made
but it's still like a walking corpse?
No, not quite. Think more like the Hall of Presidents on Disney World.
Okay.
It looks like that, and it's got like a speaker built into its mouth, and it's like talking, but it's clearly
I thought you
someone
meant like
speaking.
actual human body.
Oh, like walking around? No.
Yeah, I thought this was like some kind of Frankenstein shit.
Yeah, no. Like it's more of just like a moving mannequin or something like that. The
Gotcha.
trailer shows it for. What's kind of disappointed me is that it seems like no one else has done a little bit of a deeper dive on this, because The Devil in Me is very much a reference to the serial killer H.H. Holmes. He was a guy that he was in this like the late 1800s Chicago World's Fair. He would lure people into this house he built, and this house was full of like death traps.
Creepy.
Yeah, look him up if you want to get kind of spooked a little bit. But
I do not.
The Devil in Me, H.H. Holmes was famous for saying there's a devil in me, and he was a serial killer. It's clear that they're kind of linking these two together, in my opinion. I'm surprised no one else seems to be really mentioning that in these articles. I love the Dark Pictures games. I think they're great. They're fun little budget titles that you sit back on a weekend and crank through. I love their weird Rod Serling-esque curator character from Pip Torrens.
And don't they all have multiple endings too?
They do have multiple endings, but none of them...
It's a game where choices sort of matter. Like, it doesn't change everything, but it does change like what you see at the end of the game.
Yeah, choices matter to a degree. There's always a bit of illusion to these things where it makes you think you might have made a choice, but they kind of end up at the same point still. Mm-hmm. But the ending can still shift between one of a few different variants as well. I like to liken these to like a coloring book. You know what the picture is going to look like at the end, but you can choose what shades are going to be put in there to lead you up to that point.
Fun.
So yes, part 4 of the House of the Dark Pictures anthology is coming, likely to be next year, and then I would imagine they would take a break, because they've been cranking these out once a year. There's a reason why they're calling it the season 1 finale, so they might wait a year or two to get use of next gen hardware, and then the last 4 games and whatever contracted of Namco could be for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X only, or.
Gotcha.
The disaster of it all, Namco pulls the plug after 4 things, and they just say end of season 1, hoping they have a season 2, but in reality this is going to be the last one.
Damn, that's a bummer. I don't like that. Let's do the other
I don't
one.
like that either.
Well, all the best to those guys. Hope that new game's tight.
Same here. Dave, why don't you go and lead us on the next topic here?
All right, and a story from GameSpot, but you can also just find it just about everywhere. The Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Definitive Edition release date was announced, and it will be released on November 11th. The $60 compilation package will be available across PlayStation 4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, Nintendo Switch, and PC through the Rockstar Games launcher on November 11th. A physical edition for Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PS4 is coming on December 7th. The press release made no mention of a physical version for the PS5. In addition, a standalone version of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the Definitive Edition, is coming to Game Pass on November 11th, while Grand Theft Auto 3 Definitive Edition will be available on PlayStation Now starting December 7th. Kind of a weird little switch there where one of them's getting one, the other one's getting the other, and Vice City is just going nowhere.
Which sucks, because Vice City is the one I actually have a hankering to play through again.
Yes, Vice City Scarface.
I'm not spending $60 on this, just flat out. But I do want to play an updated version of Vice City real bad.
Right, but if Vice City came out and it was $20, right?
I'd probably do it.
3 games for $60.
I'm very curious to know if they've updated the control schemes to these.
That I do not know, but they do. They release some screens that you can look, and a little bit as a video, and it does look pretty good.
Yeah, you don't expect amazing quality, but they are definitely better than their PlayStation 2 counterparts.
They've been cleaned up, so you can actually play it on something modern, and it won't look like butts.
For sure. I will keep a tentative eye on that. If it ever drops to $20, I'll pick it up. But until then, this is going to sit in the corner. Next story here. This one's
on Game Pass is going to do great.
I thought about cutting this for time, but I think it's important that I mention this story here real quick, David.
Okay.
No More Heroes studio Grasshopper has been acquired by Chinese publisher NetEase. This is via Video Game Chronicle. NetEase, which is the second largest games company in China behind Tencent, signed an equity transfer agreement in May, and the deal will now go ahead. In a statement issued today, Grasshopper CEO Goichi Suda, aka Suda51, said a deal would lead to even higher quality games for the studio going forward. Quote, NetEase games have developed many excellent NetEase games have developed many excellent games in the past, and I have long been aware of NetEase's creative capabilities. End quote. This is less about Grasshopper. This is less about Suda51. This is more about NetEase. NetEase, for those of you playing at home, is essentially Tencent Part 2. You're going to see them flexing their muscle a lot over the next year or so. I have said repeatedly that you should fear Tencent. I will now add that you should fear NetEase as well for the exact same reasons. And that's that. NetEase is no less scrupulous than Tencent is. They are both beholden to a extremely authoritarian and evil regime. Be aware of where you are giving your money to. But yeah, NetEase is definitely something to watch out for now as well. And you're going to see a bunch of people joining that NetEase ship over the next 6 to 12 months because they are going to start doing what Tencent is doing very, very heavily.
Congrats on the paycheck there, Suda51.
Congrats on the paycheck there, Suda51. And the guy who left Sega, the guy who made the Yakuza series, bounced out of Sega rumors. He's going to NetEase too. So we have 2 more stories. I'm going to knock through these real quick, David, if you don't mind. First up, A Quiet Place video game has been announced via IGN. This game is being created by Saber Interactive, Illogica, and Epitome, and is said to be an untold story of survival in the Quiet Place universe. The Quiet Place, by the way, where there's movies from John Krasinski about the aliens that tune in onto sound and murder the shit out of people.
Movie's great.
This game feels 2 years old. It feels like it's missed the boat just a little bit.
No, I mean, the second one didn't come out all that long ago.
Fair enough. That said, it's going to do 2 things that I think might be interesting. One, I think that this universe would be great for a stealth game.
Yeah, of course. You have to be stealthy. You can't make any noise.
Stealth game. 2, I love that they're saying an untold story of survival in the Quiet Place universe, because I'm hoping what that means is that they're doing the thing that I want to see happen. They're not going to retell the movie. It is going to take place somewhere else where this shit has happened at.
It's a thing that we're constantly asking about. Hey, cool. We saw that post-apocalyptic thing, right?
Yeah.
That piece of media that already existed. Give us something else. Like, I think it's our same issue with, like, the Last of Us TV show. We already know what happens to Joel and Ellie. Just give us something else in the universe. Well, this is going to be something else in the Quiet Place universe, but as a video game, and I think that's rad.
Agreed. Speaking of The Last of Us and movies or games being turned into movies, the final bit of news today deals with the fact that the Uncharted movie trailer dropped. What are your thoughts, David?
The fan short that was shot with Nathan Fillion and Stephen Lang is 3,000 times better than anything we're going to get out of this Marky Mark Field piece of shit.
I 100% agree. Do you remember that this movie
he doesn't have gray hair. He doesn't have a mustache. He's not Sully. It's Marky Mark. You can't pretend that's not Marky Mark.
Hold on. This is supposed to be a prequel. Maybe he sees some shit in this movie that turns his hair white. Maybe he finds an artifact that ages him 20 years.
Still worse.
That said, this movie has been in development hell for so long.
From the trailer, story-wise, if you've played any of the Uncharted video games, it's all over the fucking place.
Yeah, they have like the cargo plane scene from the third one, I think.
Don't come at me with it's a prequel when it's literally just, let's take as much shit as we can from all 4 of these video games and then put in 2 people. It's just, sorry. After this trailer dropped, I went to rewatch that old, like, 15-minute fan short that's got Nathan Fillion and Stephen Lang in it and thought, damn, this is amazing. And then I was scrolling through the comments because why not? And there was 1 million people in there that's like, who's here after watching the Sony trailer? Like,
this movie has been in development hell so long that Mark Wahlberg was originally cast as Nathan Drake.
Yeah. And at some point, Nathan Fillion wanted to be Nathan Drake.
And now he openly says he's just too old for it.
Yeah, he said he's too old for it. Quick question, Steve. How old is Marky Mark compared to Nathan Fillion?
Marky Mark, without his funky bunch, probably ages him another 14 years above Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, I don't know.
The actor... I thought you had an answer for me there, man.
I'm just bummed. I mean, I like Tom Holland as much as the next guy.
Yeah, but
I'm
even
sure
Tom Holland is like talking shit about this movie. There are those quotes of him going, "Yeah, I don't think I was right for that role," or I'm like paraphrasing, but he didn't feel like he gave it his all. I'm like, dude.
I'm sure it'll be a movie. I'm sure Sony's going to cash a check, and that they have to make this because they really want to tie all their video games and medias together and be just one giant company instead of being separate entities. But
everything about this movie screams Hollywood blockbuster in quotes to me. It screams Michael Bay.
This screams movie trailer. The movie.
It really does. And I mean, complete with the here's your classic rock song that's slightly remixed for the trailer. Yep. Here's all the scenes.
That full joke video of how to make a big budget movie trailer.
Here's your quasi Starky hero that's going to give a couple of quip one-liners. Here's your comedic moment with the Scottish guy who goes, "What?" Here's your action boom explosion. Here's your scene for the franchise that you love, recreated in the movie.
Here's all the CG that we've already gotten done.
I will watch this, but I will not go to the theaters to see this. This will eventually come on TV somewhere, and I'll sit down and actually play through it. But man, this just feels... It feels hot, like you said, movie trailer, the movie. And I don't need another one of those.
But it's a video game movie. I've watched probably every single one that's ever been released, and they're almost universally all bad.
I think we're both still in agreement that the best one was Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
The 90s Mortal Kombat. Though that new Mortal Kombat wasn't bad. It knew what it was.
Christopher Lambert Mortal Kombat is good. The newer Mortal Kombat would have been great if they bothered to use a character who's actually in the franchise instead of making up a new guy who shares a backstory with an already existing character.
That shit was weird.
Just so they could give him a fancy shirt.
That shit was weird. I'm trying to think of other video game movies that were out there, and nothing's coming to mind.
Did you ever watch Sonic?
You know, I'm told that Sonic movie is actually a really good kids movie. I haven't seen it, though.
Yeah, like it's a solid kids movie. It's decently funny. It's not a horrible movie, so I guess that would be on the list.
Yeah,
but
I don't count it because I haven't seen it. And if I haven't seen it, then I don't care.
That's fair, man.
David, we do have one... You wanted to say something?
I was going to say, if anyone in chat has their favorite video game-based live-action movie, feel free to throw it at us.
What are your thoughts on the Mario movies? The new one. Okay, so... The original Mario movie with Bob Hopkins, and John Leguizamo.
There you
go. Is a classic. But it's a classic...
nightmare-fueled fever dream of a dark cyberpunk dystopia story that was then retooled and repenned into a Mario film and then was not allowed to be as dark and crazy as they originally wanted to, so it was somehow churned down into a kid-friendly movie that had a bunch of stuff that didn't actually make sense because they cut all the parts that made sense out of the script.
It's a classic in that if you go into it knowing all that shit, you're going to see a beautiful disaster.
Absolutely. Yoshi's an actual dinosaur. Dennis Hopper's a crazy person.
Yeah, that's a stretch. The new Mario movie from Illumination, I am actually looking forward to because I trust Illuminate. I trust the people who are doing it because these are the guys that did Despicable Me, which to date is still the only movie where I was actually in the theater and just guffawed. It takes a lot for a movie to get me just to like crack up. It takes even more to get me to crack up in public. And just the scene in Despicable Me where they're going through the vents and one of the minions fucking squeezes him and shakes him like a nightlight and he starts glowing like a glow stick. I just lost it for some reason at that point. So I trust Illumination Studios as the
It'll be animated well and probably pretty funny.
I am looking forward to it, despite the fact that they really, really are trying to become the next Lego movie with having Chris Pratt as Mario. But hey, It is what it is. I'm looking forward to it, though. Let me rephrase. I don't want to say I'm looking forward to it because I'm not going to go to the theater.
I can't wait for the pop song tie-in in the Mario movie.
I'll watch it, though. The Everything is Awesome equivalent.
Yeah.
Oh, what if they bring back Captain Lou Albino to do the Mario song?
They won't.
But wave your hands from side to side. Come on, let's go do the Mario. All together now.
Well, that'd be great. They won't.
We have some delays we need to adjust, or at least one big one, actually. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. This was the Nintendo Switch version of the old Advance Wars game getting brought back to a modern console, has now been delayed till spring of 2022. It was originally going to be December 3rd.
That's a huge bummer.
That is not just a huge bummer, but that makes that time period even more fucking terrifying.
Yeah, spring's going to be the worst. I couldn't afford spring like 10 announcements ago.
Yeah, it's just even worse now. We have one upcoming event, by the way. Sony's State of Play returns tomorrow, Wednesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I probably will switch over midstream to watch that real quick if you all want to show up then and join me watching the reveals, whatever they have planned. The show is looking to be only about 20 minutes or so, and we'll share new looks at previous announced games, plus a few reveals from our partners around the world. So, do not expect any new game announcements from Sony Studios itself. You might get a look at Horizon Zero Dawn, or not Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, because that's around the corner. You might get a look at God of War or even Gran Turismo, but do not expect like the surprise Colony Wars reveal or anything like that. However, do expect some new shit from third parties based on what this sounds. I am hearing rumors of like a Monster Hunter announcement of some kind, maybe Monster Hunter World 2, or at least some kind of tease for it. I cannot say for certain on that. That is just a rumor I've heard making the rounds. I doubt you're going to see anything major from this. I highly doubt. So for example, if you're sitting back expecting Bloodborne 2, probably not.
That's just not going to happen.
Bloodborne,
Period.
If you're expecting Bloodborne PC port or PlayStation 5 upgrade, this might be it. No, that's let's see. Here's the thing.
They just bought Bluepoint.
They did just buy Bluepoint, but from my you know what? I'm not even going to go down that road. I'm not even going to go down that road.
It's too much work.
Too much work for what we're at. David, that State of Play, however, doesn't happen till tomorrow.
It's forever from now.
That is just over 14 hours from now. So I have to be entertained for at least 13 of those 14 hours, because 1 hour is already set aside for something else. I have that. That's bath time. Put in some bath salts, sit back, relax, listen to news, get angry. But I got 13 hours to kill between now and then. What can I keep myself occupied with for those 13 hours?
Well, my friend, there are a few new releases coming this week. First up, we've got a game called Story of Season, Friends of Mineral Down, that hits PlayStation and Xbox. This is I'm just going to call it an Animal Crossing-like, because that'll give you the aesthetic and general vibe of this game, but it is set on a farm and a reimagining of a timeless Story of Seasons classic.
I believe Story of Seasons is what Harvest Moon turned into, because they lost the name Harvest Moon.
Yes, and this very much feels like that, but when I say Animal Crossing, I mean aesthetically. Like it has like those 3D models and that same kind of like texture and that appeal. But yeah, it does look just like a Harvest Moon game. We've got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy coming out to almost no fanfare, releasing on both PlayStations, all 4 Xboxes, Switch, and PC. This is the action shooter where you're playing a Star-Lord, leading the unpredictable Guardians from one explosion of chaos to the next. And I don't know, we saw that gameplay trailer that maybe was gameplay, maybe wasn't. It was kind of a long trailer, so I'm hoping that was real, because it did look fairly interesting. It looks like they have kind of a funny thing. They managed to pull off the thing where the characters actually look different than the MCU and not the uncanny valley-ness of it all, because they're more comics-based. But watching the trailer, I had to wonder, why does the trailer start with Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue when Battlefield literally just did that like a month ago?
Oh, fuck, you're right. They did, didn't they?
Also, and this is really weird. And
are you going to talk about how Kickstart My Heart came after Peter Quill was kidnapped?
Yes.
I was going to bring that same thing up myself.
He was like a early to mid 80s got kidnapped. Kickstart My Heart came out in 89. Now, maybe this is post him getting a Zune, but then we've got an MCU crossover problem.
Shit, I forgot he got a Zune. I completely forgot he got a Zune. I actually really want to play this game, and it's a shame that it feels like that Square Enix is just kind of sending this out to die, because it's getting reviewed decently well. Not amazingly, but it's getting reviewed well.
No, Wilson's Corner says they changed the lore. He's a 90s kid now.
No 90s kid would listen to Kickstart My Heart. They would listen to The Offspring, Ixnay on the Ombre.
Some 90s kids listen to both.
But yeah, I do want to play this, and it really does feel like Square just sent this out to die.
No, I mean, we'll see, right? Lucky for them. Name another big video game coming out this month or next that's not a first-person shooter.
That's not... well, let's see. We got a couple this week that I can easily name real quick, including the next one up on this list.
While this is a game that will probably do well, this will not meet my qualifications of a big video game. But let's jump to it. Next up on the list, Darkest Dungeon 2 is releasing on PC this week. Please keep in mind that this is releasing on the Epic Store. And it is an RPG strategy game. If you never played the first Darkest Dungeon, it is a roguelike. It is difficult. It is very dark. It is grim. All your people are going to die. It's kind of an RPG, but it's more you making a party, trying to go explore, and watching as all of your party members slowly descend into madness.
They do change a lot up with this one. I was playing it a little bit today. I'll be playing it more tomorrow on stream. It has a strong FTL vibe to it, where you're kind of picking your own path and going forward rather than sending people off into dungeons. You start with a party of 4 people, and you keep those same 4 people throughout the entire run rather than rotating them out over and over and over again. And their relationships with each other also matter now, as opposed to them just kind of being resources you spend into the dungeon. So there is a more vested interest in keeping your people alive. Because in the first Darkest Dungeon, I played that like I was this town overseer, and I'd be like, no, fuck you, go in there, I don't care if you die or not. As long as one of you comes back with the loot, I don't care what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You have a little bit more of a vested interest in keeping people well kept for on this one.
Which actually is good to me, because I disliked that aspect of Darkest Dungeon 1.
You know what this actually reminds me a lot of? Take Darkest Dungeon 1 and cross it with Oregon Trail.
Fun.
That's what this really reminds me of. And what if you take a look at the trailers for it, you'll see exactly what I mean by it. I know that it is a pretty big departure from the first one. I'm liking it so far.
Cool. Also out this week, Moonglow Bay, that was tough to say, hits the Xboxes and PC. This is a casual fishing RPG with voxel graphics. It's also on Game Pass. You play as a rookie angler working together with friends only and neighbors to hone your fishing skills, nourish relationships, and restore a remote town's fractured community. So, fishing game of the story.
I kind of want to play this. I don't want to put much time in it, but I kind of want to play it.
Yeah, dude, why not? Kathy Rain Director's Cut hits PC and Mac this week. This is a point-and-click adventure that was originally released in 2016 to pretty decent reviews. Keep in mind that this is not a remaster or a remake or anything like that. This is a Director's Cut, so it's the same award-winning game from a few years ago with an extended story, additional puzzles, and new areas, so there's just kind of more to do. So I guess Director's Cut is just what we call those big, what would have been called the Game of the Year or the Complete Edition. Now it's just everything's a Director's Cut.
That is certainly the way things need to be going.
I can't stand the Director's Cut as a name for a video game. It's fucking stupid, because the Director's Cut is the one that came out.
Does this all stem from the fact that we've talked about how you can't have a Death Stranding Director's Cut because there's no fucking way in hell anything in that game wasn't approved by Kojima?
Yeah, I feel like all of this is just post the Snyder Cut. And everyone's like, well, we got to put Director's Cut on it. So people think that, the director was somehow stifled in this video game that they made.
You know what this all stemmed from? The earliest thing that I can think this stemmed from was Blade Runner.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, going on.
So, shout out to some of the worst voiceover of all time. Forgive Me, Father hit PC this week. This is a Lovecraftian 3D FPS with a kind of neat art style. It's I don't want to say it's cell shaded, but it feels like it's adjacent to being cell shaded. If that makes any kind of sense. It looks like
a Gritty 13.
Yeah, Gritty 13 would be a good way to put it. A dark horror retro FPS set in a comic book style world inspired by the novels of H.P. Lovecraft. There you go.
I have that on wishlist, by the way. This looks cool, but I want it to develop a little bit more before I get into it.
Cool. Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater hits the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and Switch. Horror adventure game. Comes to Steam as well for the first time. It's the 20th anniversary of Fatal Frame and Project Zero. Those games came out A long damn time
The
ago.
first one was on PlayStation 2 way back when. I remember when it first came out, actually.
Wasn't Fatal Frame on Dreamcast as well, or is that something else?
No. Project...
Well, I could be wrong. That's okay. I'm tired.
I could get deep into the lore of it, but I'm not going to. You're kind of right.
Cool. How's that? If you never played Fatal Frame, you should play Fatal Frame. If you like horror games that probably aren't quite as scary as they were 20 years ago, but still pretty good. NASCAR 21 Ignition hits. What's funny is the only listed consoles I saw were last gen, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. This is the official NASCAR simulator racing game, or as they put it, the world's most popular stock car racing series official video game. Is there another stock car racing series besides NASCAR? Oh, man.
What, Word
With
of
incredible
Outlaws?
graphics and immersive gameplay. This looks exactly like the one last year. If you're super into NASCAR, go for it. But I could not honestly tell you any difference between this one and the one that came out 3 years ago even. Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars, hits PlayStation, Switch, and PC. This is that Square Enix turn-based card battler RPG that's a full RPG, but set entirely in a card-based medium. So, like, the whole story is told out through cards. I still think this game looks interesting. I thought it was kind of interesting during that whole Square demo we got a while ago. There is a demo out. Now, this game is $30, and I will warn you that it already has a bunch of random DLC available for it, which makes me very worried about how this game's going to develop. Because it's at a decent price point now. I'm worried it won't stay that way, and it's just going to get, like, the DLC onslaught, but we'll have to wait and see. Undernaut's Labyrinth of Yomi hits PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is a first-person dungeon crawl JRPG. You're escaping from Yomi, a dungeon filled with riches and danger. Make use of your power skills and magic items. So this is a lot like, man, I always forget the name of that. Not Path, Pillars of Eternity, right? That kind of first-person RPG game.
Classic RPG. No, hold
Classic. No, because classic RPG makes me think of like
Okay,
Planescape Torment
So this is...
and Baldur's Gate.
So Pillars of Eternity is like those games.
Okay, so not Pillars of Eternity. There's another game that starts with like a similar...
There's like... what you're thinking is like the old Eye of the Beholder stuff, I think.
I know, but there was a series that came out fairly recently that kind of redid that whole first-person
There's
RPG
like Legend
thing.
of Grimlock.
Grimlock, that'll work. There
yeah.
you go. So yeah, take a look if you're into that kind of thing.
Actually,
Black
I kind of
Widow
want to take a look at that.
Recharged hits the PlayStations, Xboxes, Switch, and PC. This is a 2D arcade action shoot 'em up where you're defending your spiderweb from an onslaught of bugs in this frenetic revival of the cult classic twin stick shooter. It's a twin stick shooter where you're playing as a spider and you're trying to keep shit off your web. Looks fun, but if you don't like spiders, you probably don't want to play it. The other fishing game coming out this week is Bassmaster Fishing 2022. All the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, PC. This is the sim fishing game. So if you don't want to play the more cartoony RPG one, this is the officially licensed fishing video game because there are those. Roki is a PS5 and Xbox Series X/X story-rich puzzle adventure game set in the snow-capped wilderness as two of you must explore an uncharted world full of hidden legends and forgotten monsters. This game is cartoony and kind of neat looking, actually, I think, if you're into those adventure-y, like single-player narrative adventure games. Riders Republic hits all the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, and PC. This is that multiplayer sports action game that's been in the mix for a while now. They've been working on it, so I'm pretty sure there's been a bunch of demos.
I was convinced this was going to get delayed as of 3 weeks ago.
All right, and it's coming out. Massive multiplayer playground, bike, ski, snowboard, wingsuit, all kinds of stuff. I've heard that people seem to like this game, so take a look. There's an Age of Empires 4. I bet you knew about that, right? RTS medieval strategy. It's the next Age of Empires game.
Yeah, and it more or less is, well, Age of Empires 4. They really didn't change much up to the formula for what I'm hearing. I'm kind of excited for that.
Right. And last but not least, Mario Party Superstars hits Switch this week. This is the kind of grab bag super mashup version of Mario Party, where it takes games and boards and just all kinds of stuff from all of the old Mario Party games and jams them into a new one.
If you
with
were
a bunch of
to
other
consider
new
a
stuff.
greatest hits collection, you'd probably be on track.
Yeah, that works. Mario Party games are fun enough, right? There's a Mario game for everybody, and some people really like Mario Party.
David, that does it for new releases, which means that does it for the show as well. This has been
Indeed.
GamePoints episode 294, and thank you all for showing up. We do stream live here at Twitch TV/GamePoints every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time if you want to be part of the conversation. If you can't show up live, however, you can also go to our YouTube page or the Discord, which is link provided down below to be part of the GamePoints community. You can follow the show at GamePoints PC on Twitter, myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and David there at _Satori. And if you like what you saw here, you all know what to do when it comes to likes, follows, subscribes, all that good stuff. I'll be back tomorrow playing some Darkest Dungeon 2 in early access, maybe even switching over to that state of play since it is going to be running concurrent to when I am streaming. So feel free to come on by and take a look at those. But until next time, thanks for being here. We'll be seeing you.